And was it a sign from beyond the grave? Was it a sign from my loved one? I talk to people who are grieving all the time. I talk to people who have lost their loved ones, and we often wonder, right? None of us really know, but we sometimes get signs. We sometimes fabricate signs or want to believe those signs are certain things. And they may be and they may not be, but I think it brings a lot of us comfort to know when we feel like our loved ones are around us. One of the things I was reading Mary Frances O'Connor's book called The Grieving Brain, where she's looking at the science of grief. And one of the things that she says is that we need to know where our loved ones are physically, that when we lose them, part of the reason why grief can be so hard is because we have to be able to put them somewhere. I think that's why for a lot of people who believe in the afterlife or in reincarnation or believe in heaven or believe where people are, where their loved ones are, it helps because it gives our brain sort of a space, a location to put them in, because we know that they're not physically with us. They're not here on this earth anymore. And so, but we need to know where they are. It's just a psychological thing in our brain to realize this. And so, where do you think your loved one is? Do you believe they're in heaven? Do you believe that I had a wonderful conversation with one of my clients about the Hindu beliefs in reincarnation, and that people are reincarnated into another form and come back to be able to complete what they didn't finish, to maybe try again. It's almost like a starting over, which I think we could all use an opportunity to start over or to try again. But let me know in the comments, do you know where your loved one is? Where do you think they are? Does it make you feel better if you believe they're in heaven, if you believe they are somewhere physically? Just let me know. I'd love to hear what you think. But I had an experience that I want to share because this hasn't happened to me a lot. But excuse me, it does happen with my clients. And I was very excited when it happened to me. And I was like, yes, now I have a story to tell about something that happened in my life that I think is a sign from my son, Jackson, who died 14 years ago. And I always want to believe that maybe his spirit, his presence is around me. And in many ways it is, because I think of him so often, because I share his story so often with my clients and with you. And so in case you don't know, Jackson died 14 years ago. He was born prematurely. He lived for 42 days. He was in the NICU the entire time. His brain basically, he had a pulmonary hemorrhage, which destroyed his brain, essentially, is what happened. We chose to end life support. It changed my life forever. Many of you have heard this story. If you haven't, let me know, and I can drop the link to some of the stories that I've shared. That's sort of my full story. And it changes over time because I'm changing over time. But I've been out meeting more people, sort of expanding the presence of Grief Inspired and trying to share my message of hope, right? And sharing my desire to help all of you know that there is hope in grief, that even though you hurt a lot and you feel lonely and you feel misunderstood by people in your life, that you can find hope, that you can move forward, that you can feel inspired. And hi, Lara. Hi, Mickey. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know that you're here. Drop comments below. Oh, thank you. You can see my backyard. Yes. So yeah, I live here in the woods in Virginia Beach. It is beautifully sunny today, so I feel very grateful for that. Although there are a lot of bugs here, and I did find a roach. Ugh, I don't like it. I'm from California. They don't have bugs there. Here we have them. Anyways, very happy and very blessed to be in Virginia Beach. And that's a whole nother story that my dad sort of brought me here. I had a sense of knowing that my dad was going to die and I had to be here for him. And so he was hospitalized a week after I arrived, died 3 weeks later. So I got to be with him through the very end, which was very, very nice. Oh, Mickey, I love that. That was your mom's name too. And Alice, I recognize your name. Hello, hello. So I wanted to share a story with you guys because I was at a party last night and they had a party card. Well, it was a game. Everybody got a card and it had a question on it, and it was kind of like a get to know each other kind of party. And so the question that I got was, what was my favorite holiday and why? And I thought to myself, oh boy. Do I share my loss story with these people? Do I go the easy route and just say, well, I like Easter because Jesus rose from the dead? You know, do I go the easy route? And is there something in my necklace? Nope, it's actually a magnifying glass. I got it in an antique store. Ooh, that looks cool. I love antique shopping and finding things that were probably somebody else's who has passed on. But so I was at this party last night and the card I got was, what's my favorite holiday and why? And I was like, do I share my story? And I said yes, because my desire is to help as many people as possible through the grief process. And the thing that I have learned is that in any group of people, you never know who the people are who are really grieving, because so many of us do, I heard it called like the fake fine face, where we go through our life and we act like everything's fine and we don't share our grief with everybody, which is actually a good idea in many ways because, you know, you want to share it with the right people. But I never know who I'm going to be talking to or who is going to need to hear my story of hope. So I'm sharing this story and I want to get to what happened. So they asked me what my favorite holiday was. I said Christmas. Christmas was the time when Jackson was in the hospital. So my baby was born on December 15th and he never came home. He was in the NICU. And so he was in the NICU over the Christmas holiday. And what I was saying is what I loved about Christmas, and people who were in the audience that I was speaking to did not know that my son had died. And I said, he was in the NICU though. And all I wanted was for him to poop on Christmas. And, you know, everybody kind of chuckled. But the reason why I wanted him to poop on Christmas was because he hadn't gone to the bathroom yet. He was premature. His digestive tract had not developed fully yet. And if he could poop, it meant that his digestive tract was getting better. And so I remember leaving him Christmas Eve to go back and get some rest. My husband at the time he was on the night shift. And I said, please, honey, Mommy just wants you to poop for Christmas. Can you please just create a poop for Mommy for Christmas? Well, 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:30, I get a call from my ex-husband. Hurrah, he pooped, and I was very excited. So I was sharing this story, and then I explained to everyone that I was talking to that he then died just a couple of weeks later, and how devastated I was, and how, because this had all happened around the Christmas holiday, that there were a couple of years where I was like the first year after I lost him, I didn't want to have anything to do with Christmas. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Christmas was horrible. Everybody was walking around happy. And here I was a grieving mother. I didn't have my son. I was supposed to be having my, baby's, well, it would have been second Christmas because he was born before Christmas, but I was supposed to be celebrating with him. And so I certainly wasn't happy for a couple of years, but I did have my son, Mason, and I knew when I had my son Mason, and I was on bed rest the entire pregnancy with him. And so it was very touch and go. And I was very scared that he too was going to die. And that was a very real possibility. And I was very, very terrified and just praying every day that he would get to the point where he would survive. And he did. But what it's done for me, and what that Christmas has done for me, is made me realize how blessed every Christmas is with my son now, because it's a gift. Because I know that my baby died. I know that other people die, that every Christmas that we have, every holiday that we have, really, we really should look at it as a gift, because none of it's promised. Like, I've talked to so many of you. Sudden death happens. People who are perfectly healthy can have a heart attack and pass on. People who you think, go to the hospital for something simple and you think they're going to come back, do a little rehab and then be fine, are not fine. And they do pass away. So I was sharing the story and I was explaining how I really love Christmas now, and it's become something very, very special. It's a very special time of year because it has such meaning for me. And when I said those words, because it has such meaning for me, the craziest thing happened. I remember saying those words and the lights flickered and everyone in the room gasped all at the same time. I still have goosebumps. We all had goosebumps. And everyone was like, whoa. And so it seemed like it was a sign, like the timing of when the lights flickered made me think that it was Jackson, that he was with us, that his spirit was there, that he knew I was talking about him, and that he showed up for me to help share my message. And I just thought that was so incredible. He was such a blessing in the 42 days that I had him. And, other people say that people have a length of time on this earth that is somewhat definitive. Let me know if you believe that. Do you believe that we all have a certain amount of time and that we need to live out that time? And when our time is up, that's when we go. Not everybody believes that, but some people do. Let me know what you think. And so I believe, and what I choose to believe, is that yes, Jackson was there, that he did show up, that he's helping me spread my message, the message of hope, the message that you can move forward. And in the 42 days of his life that were so short and caused so much pain and suffering for me, now I come off as really, really happy now, which is what I want. That's why I call my business name Grief Inspired, is because I want your grief to inspire you to be happy again. You got to get through the pain. You got to do the work. But I really want the fundamental belief to be that your grief can inspire you. And so I think that Jackson did what he needed to do on those 42 days of his life, that his life was only supposed to be 42 days. And if you would have told me that during the first year of my grief, I would have said, well, that's terrible. But I have some distance and I have some space from that. And so it's very clear to me looking back all of these years later, and he would have been, he was born in 2011. So he would be 14 this coming Christmas. My life would have been completely different with him. But I think he did what he was supposed to do. And I want to hang on to that. And I want to believe that because he impacted my life so much. He has put me on a path that is so very different and so very unexpected. I never could have guessed that this is where I would be. I never could guess that I would be living in Virginia. I was in California. I just didn't know. And I think that there's a lesson in that for all of us, that when we lose the people that we love, we can feel like our lives are over. You lose a child, you lose a spouse, you lose your parents, and you feel orphaned. And it feels like the life that I knew is over. And in many ways, it is. But that doesn't mean that your future has to be terrible. It doesn't mean that your future can't have joy in it. It can't have happiness in it. Now, I'm not talking about flipping a switch and being like, now I'm happy. That actually happens for some people, but it's because they've done the work of grief that they get to the point where they have an awareness, that they have this mental shift to say how blessed they were to have known the people for as long as they did, and how they've grown, and how the struggle causes us to grow and to become better versions of ourselves. I am far better than I ever used to be. I'm far more compassionate. I want to help. My life has changed. Like, the bullshit's gone. There's no more bullshit. There's no time for that anymore in my life because of the vantage point that I'm in, because I know that life is so short. And so I wanted to share that story with you because I want to believe that our loved ones are still around us. And I think that we can carry our loved ones with us into our future. That we can use the pain, the suffering, the grief, and the knowledge that we learn about grief and life and ourselves, that we can take that and we carry it with us. That's why we say we move forward. No one moves on. People who say move on are just dumb because they don't know. Nothing against them. They just don't know. And so we move forward, but you carry your loved ones with you. I talked to someone who, got remarried after they had lost a spouse. And yes, it's not like that person is suddenly gone. The person that they lost, their former spouse, made them the person that they are. The grief that they experienced made them the person that they are, the person that they then fell in love with. So it's all the journey of life. And so if you are in a place where you feel really down, where you're suffering, where you're in pain, I want to give you hope, because you don't have to stay there. You can if you want to, but you don't have to stay there. You can move forward. You have to grieve. You have to do the work. If you want help with that, find me. Comment here. Send me an email at griefinspired@gmail.com. I've got my new website coming out soon. It's going to be so good. But I want you to know that there is always hope, that you can do this, that you can get through this. Please do not do it alone. Together we grieve better. I've got t-shirts. If you need to wear a t-shirt that says "Together we grieve better," and if it helps remind you that you are not alone, you can feel empowered, you can accept your loss, you can move forward, and you can manifest wonderful things in your life that are so unexpected. Just like what I manifested last night in the group of people that I was talking to, who I'm so blessed to be a part of, who I wouldn't know if this had not been my path. So I do believe that ultimately we can understand why things happened. We can make sense of it in our own heads, and we can move forward, and we can be inspired to share our story. We can be inspired to find hope. We can be inspired to find meaning and purpose. And we can be inspired to be better versions of ourselves. So that is my story for today. I was so blown away by Jackson showing up in my conversation. And so if you have a story that you have felt the presence of your loved one, things happen, you heard them, you believe that they are with you, you've seen signs, please share them here. Drop comments below. We all want to know. I think it's awesome to hear these stories and to give everybody a little bit of hope. So thank you for being here. I have things to do, and I'm been shirking all the things that I should be doing. So I'm going to go work on those. If I can help you, please reach out. I want to help as many people as possible, and I will be here when you are ready.